Great. Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 19th, 2020 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. Would you please rise and join me in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Jeff Benton, President of the Board. To my right is our Vice President Gary Merrill and our County Administrator Mike Fromer. To my left is fellow Commissioner Barb Lewis. And Jennifer Walraven is our clerk today, so we can begin.
Resolution number 20-910, in the matter of approving electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held October 15th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 20-910. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-911, in the matter of approving purchase orders and now certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 1016 and memo transfers in batch number MT APR 1016.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 20-911. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-912, in the matter of acknowledging receipt of application for domestic violence funds for 2021, estimating the amount of funds anticipated and allocating the same to qualified applicants, all pursuant to Chapter 3113 Ohio Revised Code.
Second.
Discussion. I assume did you have any comments on this resolution? Okay, I knew it wasn't yours, but it's in your building. So, vote, please.
Vote on motion 20-912. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-913, in the matter of accepting the award for the Victims of Crime and State Victims Assistance Grants for Victim Services.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. You can take it up. It actually makes it easier to understand you. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Nicole Ford with the Delaware County Prosecutor's Office. We have once again been awarded the Victims of Crime Act and State Victims Assistance Act grants. These grants allow us to continue serving our victims of crime in Delaware County community. It partially funds our Victim Services Director, Trish Wright, who's been with us for 10 years, our Victims Assistant, Megan Powell, who's been with us for 7.5 years, and our Civil Protection Order Specialist, Meg Dillman, who's been with us for a little over a year. All of these positions are extremely vital to this division and Delaware County. This year's federal funds were cut by 37% across the board. This has taken a huge impact on a lot of nonprofit agencies. After looking at our funds and reallocating some unused funds from this year, we were able to adjust our budget so that the decrease in funds does not detrimentally impact our budget request for next year. We have been awarded $123,630.63, $24,381.16, which is a local match. They do expect a reduction in funds again next year. They don't know how much it was. Last year it was 7%. They have no other insight after next year, and the grant has begun on October 1st of 2020 and will conclude September 30th of 2021.
Do you have any insight as to why they've reduced the funding?
I don't think they
Significantly like
expected it to be as drastic as 37%, and I think COVID had a lot to do with that. They knew that last year, this year, and next year they were all going to be cut, but last year it was 7%, and I think this year was probably supposed to be around 7%. I don't know I just know that they've lost federal funding for victims of crime, unfortunately.
Okay. All right, vote.
Vote on motion 20-913. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-914, in the matter of approving a transfer of appropriations for the prosecutor's office.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Due to the 37% reduction in our grant, we are requesting a transfer of appropriations from the Victims Assistant General Fund Compensation and OPRS and the General Prosecuting Attorney Fund to the Victims Assistant General Health Insurance Fund. This reallocating of funds will allow us to use excess 2020 funds and it will help us to accommodate the reduction of our VOCA funds recently awarded to us without asking for additional funds.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 20-914. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks.
Thank
Nicole.
you.
Thank you. Try and stay dry.
Yes, I know. It's nasty out there.
Yeah. Boy, she's really good. She's
Well,
got-
yeah,
Yeah,
very thorough.
yeah. She's used to the kids.
Yeah, she's got
Resolution
kids.
number 20-915, in the matter of approving Amendment Number 1 to the Sanitary Sewer Subdividers Agreement for Harpers Point.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Morning, Commissioners. Eric McPeak, Deputy Director of Operations for the Regional Sewer District. This is an amendment to the original subdividers agreement that would allow Harpers Point to connect their model home prior to sewers being accepted for the public. It's a 46-lot development. It's in downtown, near downtown Powell, just east of Liberty, north of Olentangy Road, Olentangy Street. So,
Okay,
answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, I was going to ask you why the one house, but if it's the model, I
It's the
understand
model
that.
home, and they'll have a hub set as they have more.
Yep. Okay. Vote?
Vote on motion 20-915. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-916, in the matter of approving a professional services agreement with H.R. Gray and Associates for on-call construction inspection services.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
H.R. Gray was selected through a request for qualifications process because of their experience with this type of work. This is a contract for $120,000 to perform inspection on residential development projects for us, and these projects will be fully reimbursed by the developers through their inspection fees. So all the fees that we spend with H.R. Gray will be reimbursed to the sewer district.
Do you know how much we spent in the prior year for this?
It ranges, it depends on demand, it also depends on staffing. I know we have some reduced staffing right now that we're trying to backfill, but also the demand's high for inspection services. It ranges anywhere from, normally we do 50 to 60. That's a normal range. I think the last couple of years it's been up due to demand.
Okay.
Development going on.
Yeah, well, yeah, we know that. And I know we get reimbursed from the developers on these charges, so it's a pass-through for the county, but I was just curious. Okay, vote, please.
Vote on motion 20-916. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-917, in the matter of issuing a final certificate of substantial completion to Peterson Construction Company for the Alum Creek Water Reclamation Facility Process Improvement Upgrade Project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
So we are recommending approval for final acceptance, and the Alum Creek Improvement Project has gone very well. The construction portion concluded on schedule, and we're finishing up some of the electronics, some of the computer work that helps control the plant still, and it was near budget. The original budget was $3.88 million. We have new mixers installed in the aeration tanks, automated DO, automated SCADA. What this does is help us with efficient operations. So it helps us to control the plant a lot better. So definitely be under our permit limits, but it also, we've seen some electrical savings, which is what we anticipated, and the next phase that's going on is a clarifier upgrade, and we'll see even more just overall efficiency and water quality because of that. So we recommend this for acceptance.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what's next on this. I know this is a multi-phase project.
Yeah, so it's a clarifier upgrade. That's a big portion of it, but because of this clarifier upgrade and something we've been working, I mean, this has been 6 years in the making. We're going to be able to take our sand filters, which are very old and costly to keep up. We just received a letter about a month ago from the Ohio EPA. They're going to let us decommission those once the clarifiers are in. They're a little unnecessary for our permit standards, and the upgrades that we're doing, we've done and will do really tightens it up. So that's several $1,000s a year in O&M, and that filter project would have cost us several $1 million.
And we're avoiding that.
We're avoiding that by doing
That's-
basically the rest of the
It's
plant,
huge.
which it's due anyways. It's been in service for a little bit over 20 years. So,
Good, good. All right, vote?
Vote on motion 20-917, Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mr. Benton.
Aye.
We'll wait for our next
Thanks, Eric.
person up.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
Eric.
you, Eric.
Yep. Engineers next.
Resolution number 20-918, in the matter of approving Amendment Number 1 to the Professional Services Agreement with DLZ Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Morning, Commissioners. Rob Riley, Chief Deputy Engineer. We're asking for your approval to extend the current contract with DLZ for another 2 years. DLZ provides construction engineering, inspection, and testing on both capital improvement road projects as well as development-related commercial and residential subdivisions. So a big chunk of this contract actually gets reimbursed through development inspections fees. But the balance of it is paid as a part of the capital road improvements.
So why the extension now?
We're coming up, the current contract's
Expires.
expiring at the end of this year. Frankly, due to the level of development activity we've had this year, the current contract balance is, we're going to be over the contract balance by the end of this year. So,
Okay. And you're pleased with the work DLZ's been providing?
yeah, absolutely. They're one of very few certified testing labs in Central Ohio that can do basically all the engineering, inspection, and testing in one place. We've had a good working relationship with DLZ for many years. So we, in some respects, they act as an extension of our staff. So that's very helpful for us.
All right, vote?
Vote on motion 20-918, Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Resolution number 20-919, in the matter of awarding a bid and approving a contract between the Delaware County Commissioners and Double Z Construction Company for the project known as Dell Sawmill Outpost, Delaware County.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
We received 8 bids for this contract. We're very pleased at that. Double Z Construction was the low bidder at just under the engineer's estimate, about 1%. And so just to refresh, this contract does include the outpost construction, which will be a salt storage facility. It's a concrete substructure with basically a manufactured roof system. All of the site improvements as well as turn lanes on
Sawmill.
Sawmill Parkway, both for the outpost as well as across the street, Hyatt's. We took a contribution from, I believe it was Pulte, on the west side of Sawmill Parkway towards the turn lane. So again, we're wanting to move ahead with this. Construction-wise, the Double Z is ready to go on the outpost, which is good news. They're going to start work potentially this week. And then we hope to have the outpost and salt storage up sometime this winter. And discussions we've had with Liberty Township as well as Powell, they will probably load directly out of this facility as their salt storage gets empty over the course of the winter. And then we'll be able to fill or load out to Scioto Township, probably even Orange Township, and certainly Concord Township. So we think this will be a huge benefit for our snow and ice control in the winter and really pay good dividends over the life of it.
So is Liberty going to close their current location they're using, or?
I don't believe so. They are going to retain some salt at their current facility. I was told just recently that they've got maybe some structural problems with their current facility, but so that may limit the amount of salt they can hold, and this will certainly be a benefit to them being so close.
I had spoken to one of the trustees in a casual conversation, and they talked about some of those issues, and I referred him. I know that Chris at a meeting that we all happened to be at spoke to him, so I was just curious how it played out, so I didn't know.
Okay, well, yeah, again, putting a salt barn in this location really makes sense. It'll help the county, obviously, less transportation or fewer miles traveled to get the salts reloaded and help the other
Where's
townships.
the other
with it.
salt storage place?
We have two. Our main storage facility is on 23 North by the jail, just the parcel right next door to that, kind of behind the shooting range.
Oh, that's right, okay.
And then,
42.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
Yeah, you said 23.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry,
yeah.
42 North, excuse me. And then at Berkshire Township, we also have a similar structure to the one we're proposing to
okay.
build.
Yeah, near the township hall
near the
there.
township hall, that's
Yes.
right, okay.
So that's ours? I guess I always assumed that was Berkshire's.
It is, that was by agreement with the
They need a lot of
township.
salt.
We actually built and own the facility, but it's on land that's owned by the
provided.
township, yes.
That's right, yeah.
Good, good. Vote, please.
Vote on motion 20-919. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-920, in the matter of approving ditch maintenance petitions and the ditch maintenance assessments for Enclave at Abbey Knoll, Scioto Meadows North, Highfield Drive, Ditch Road location, Liberty Grand Communities, Section 3, Phase A, and Liberty Grand Communities, Section 4.
So moved.
Second,
Discussion.
I'll just give you a brief recap on these. These are all standard drainage maintenance petitions to place the storm sewers and drainage basins on our county program. Enclave at Abbey Knoll is a 20-lot subdivision located on Old State Road. Scioto Meadows North is off Home Road. It's a 20-unit condo project. Highfield Drive is basically relocating an existing ditch on some commercial tracks that will be developed in the near future. Liberty Grand, sections 3A and 4, that involves a 300-unit rental community being developed by Schottenstein Real Estate Group.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 20-920. Mrs. Lewis?
aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-921, in the matter of approving a supplemental appropriation for ditch maintenance.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
So this, we're requesting a supplemental appropriation for ditch maintenance to perform some additional services. Brett Bacon from Soil and Water is here. If you have any detailed questions, he's probably the better person to ask, but this would add to the services line for drainage maintenance.
So is this reallocated to the users of, just curious how,
We'll let Brett answer that question.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brett Bacon, Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District. The amount that we are requesting to be appropriated is reflective of there was some work on Old Harbor Estates, and correct, it's Hollenbeck, right? Yes. Hollenbeck Road, near Alum Creek. There was some work that needed to be done to one of their retention basins, and it was work that the county engineer's office came to an agreement with the developer. The subdivision itself is already on drainage maintenance, is already our responsibility, but this was work that was kind of left over from the initial construction. So the developer agreed to pay for the cost of the work. However, we had one of our drainage maintenance contractors perform the work, so they made a pay-in to the drainage maintenance fund. Good arrangement all around. The work got done, was done at no cost to the landowners, and we're just asking to appropriate that amount. It was $30,500. The work's already been done. We're just asking to appropriate it to this year's budget.
so the county will get reimbursed or has?
We already have been,
Okay, just
yes.
trying to
Yeah.
clarify.
Kind of think of it like a grant. We got a grant from the developer to do the work. They just didn't want to have to hire one of their own contractors, and we were, that was preferable to us too. We have good people that do quality work for us, and it was a good arrangement that we are allowed to, or able to use one of our own contractors to perform the work, so.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 20-921. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-922, in the matter of authorizing the county engineer to submit an application for funding assistance to the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission for Del CR 124-8.51 Home Road Extension, Phase 4A, Railroad Overpass.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. This is an interesting topic.
It sure is.
We're all anxious to get that overpass done.
Yes, absolutely. So as you're aware, as I think you're probably aware, Morpsey has a share of federal highway transportation funds that flow through ODOT that are then provided to Morpsey to allocate to various local agencies in central Ohio. Every 2 years, they receive applications, and that time is right now. So we are proposing to submit an application to Morpsey for about $7 million towards this project. We actually applied for this project about 2 years ago. We were not successful at that time. Since then, a lot has changed. Obviously, we have a home road built from 23 over to Green Meadows Drive. If you haven't been on it already, it looks great. So very pleased to see that. And obviously, a lot more development activity in the area. We have the Orange Grand community as well as Evans Farm continuing to develop quickly. So we think this should be a stronger application this round just because of what's gone on around the project area. So I can answer any questions you may have.
Well, I think Morpsey understands the importance of this east-west corridor, and it's an important part of that. And I know Commissioner Benton sits on the executive committee, so he'll
Yep, I'll do my best. Make sure that
put a
this
little
happens.
pressure on you there.
Yeah. Do you have a timeline in mind at this point then, Rob?
So construction probably not going to start before 2024. We have really quite a bit of work to do yet on the preliminary engineering and working with the railroads to get the permits. It's hard enough with one railroad. We've got two, and because of the
two different railroads?
Yeah, CSX Transportation and Norfolk Southern.
There's
share.
two lines, or they just use the same track?
There's actually three.
Three,
tracks.
yeah, there's three tracks through there.
Southern.
Oh, I didn't realize there were two different
Yeah.
railroad companies. Oh, that makes it more fun.
Yeah, twice the fun. So unfortunately, we will have probably a substructure or a pier basically located on railroad property because it's such a long span. We'll need to actually put a structure in the railroad right away. That makes it more complicated and longer to get approval. Our other railroad project on Home Road to the west over in Liberty Township, that was just a single track. We were able to span it, and that's generally a lot easier to accomplish. So I don't think it'll happen before 2024. That's what we're currently shooting for. We'll see how it goes.
What would the total construction cost estimate be, do you think?
We're estimating about $13 million for the construction portion, and then we'll have engineering and some right-of-way expense. We've already purchased 11 acres up at the Lewis Center, east quadrant of this project, and so we do have one remaining track on. We have to buy some land from Delco Water, but that shouldn't be an issue.
Okay. Yeah, this is the final leg that's, there's just a real gap here, you know, in the east-west connector, which is so important to economic development and good transportation flow in southern Delaware County. This is the last piece, the missing piece. So it'd be great if we can get this done soon.
Excuse me, Commissioner, before I forget, I wanted to also mention we have applied, the TID has actually applied for grant funding on the Orange Road Railroad Grade Separation Project. That will probably trail this one in terms of time frame because that it's like twice the fun of an overpass because it's an underpass, and that so basically instead of the county owning the structure, now the railroad will own the bridge, and we have basically in essence have a tunnel under the railroad. So that does take considerably longer and a lot more engineering and headaches, frankly, but we're applying for a similar amount on that project, working with Orange Township on that. We'll see how it goes. We've got a very good case to make on both of these projects, really. So we'll see. Keep our fingers crossed.
Would one have priority over the other, or consider equivalence, or?
Well, the one you have before you is really the only county application from your board. The other one coming from the TID, so there's really no conflict in terms of priority. But in terms of time frame, Home Road would happen first, just because of the complexity of the design, and then Orange Road hopefully following closely behind it.
Well, the road's ready to be connected to over there, so the work's finished, so it's be good to see. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I kind of have an unrelated question, but it's the same railroad. Sure. The Lewis Center, where they were talking about the railroad wanted to close that crossing, that was 7, 8, 9 months ago. Never heard another thing about it, and obviously the locals there, that was very important to them to maintain, because it really split up their village, for lack of a better word. And where do we stand on that? Do we know anything?
Well, we do, and your question is very timely, Commissioner, because I have a deposition on Thursday with the railroad attorneys. That matter is before the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. That's basically the body that reviews applications to close railroad crossings. The one you're talking about is Franklin Street, right near EMS Station 3. Your board has opposed that closure until, basically until we get some of these railroad crossing improvements done, so that we have some alternative routes whenever Lewis Center Road would need to be closed, or Franklin Street would need to be closed for maintenance. And that does happen every few years. They need to fix the crossing. When that's done, that creates a major traffic problem, as well as a response issue for the EMS in that area. So your question basically, we don't know what will exactly happen. We are asking the railroads to delay the closure for several years, at least until after the Home Road and Orange Road grade separations are done. We'll see what PUCO has to say about it. We have a hearing, I believe, at the end of this month. So
I hope they would appreciate the fact that it does split up that neighborhood by closing it now or later. So, my own observation or perspective.
I agree. That's a real good point. We need the east-west access in that general area, and if you close one of the two on Lewis, or in Lewis Center, then there are going to be times when they can't get through. So, the question I had was, as the Home Road Bridge is built and bends to the north to intersect Lewis Center, that's where the Pyatt Road connection comes in, if I understand it correctly.
that's correct. So
and that's going to be a roundabout.
that will be a roundabout. We have that actually under design right now. OHM, excuse me, is helping us with that through our general engineering services contract. We're hoping to advance that portion, basically because Evans Farm will very likely be ready to have that Pyatt Road connection before we can get the railroad bridge done. So we're going to basically kind of work from north to south instead of from south to north here. So that will hopefully be done in 2022, 23, and then followed by the railroad bridge.
Okay. So then would that would include constructing Pyatt Road from Lewis Center to the north and the roundabout at Lewis Center and Pyatt?
Yeah, so the arrangement we've tentatively agreed to with the developers, we will build the roundabout as a capital project, as a county project, and then the developer will follow very closely or simultaneously with that gap or that section of Pyatt Road between the roundabout and the currently built section.
Okay, so will it go all the way to Shanahan?
The initial phase will not. I believe we had an agreement with Evans Farm as part of the Jennings Sports Park to build that probably a year or two after that part is completed. But there is an intention to get that done very shortly thereafter. But I think it's basically a development-driven section at that point.
Very good. Good to see Home Road at least in the distant horizon, even if it's not quite ready to start construction.
Once construction starts, probably a year?
At least a year, probably 2 full construction seasons. If we're lucky enough to start in the spring, we can get the bridge done and most of the roadway embankment in. The following year would be finishing everything off. So, yeah.
All right, vote please.
Vote on motion 20-922. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. A lot of conversation for a short resolution, but it's very important, very interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
Resolution number 20-923. in the matter of approving a quitclaim deed to transfer the historic county jail property to the Delaware County Land Reutilization Corporation and authorizing the county administrator to represent the board at and approve and execute all documents associated with the closing of the transaction.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Fromer, County Administrator. This deed is to transfer the historic jail property to the land bank so that they can market the property on our behalf. So, and this allows me to execute those documents in accordance with the agreement that we have with them. So,
Good. Yeah, it's good to see this taking that big step forward. You know, we've had stops and starts with transitioning this property, and with the historic courthouse almost being done, now's the time to get the transfer done, market the property, and put it back in private sector use, for, back on the tax rolls. And again, that'll be something we'll have to discuss at the land bank meeting on Wednesday.
Yep.
So, but good to see us moving forward. Vote, please.
Vote on motion 20-923. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Administrator reports.
I have nothing to report.
Commissioner reports.
All right, Commissioner Merrill.
I have several things. I was going to mention the land bank, but we've kind of already done that. That meeting is Wednesday, so it's good timing for this resolution. I attended the groundbreaking, although technically that would be an inaccurate term, but it's still was called a groundbreaking for Main Street. They actually had hammers, and you could go in and ding a wall that they're going to take out.
Seriously?
Yeah, so it blew up. CCO, we had our meeting Friday, a 2.5-hour marathon, and virtual, and
Your favorite.
definitely my favorite. I just love those virtual meetings. There's several things that came up in the meeting. I won't go into any detail right now, but I do have a couple of questions for Eric that may then lead to a conversation, but I want to get some clarity from him first. Board of Elections, I've had any number of people approach me and brag about how efficient our Board of Elections has been in the voting process. And it's amazing the number of people that have approached me and said they've already voted. It seems to be a very normal practice right now for a lot of reasons. And there is a groundbreaking this afternoon at 2 o'clock in Powell for Horsepower Farms. The weather, I'm not sure what impact that will have, if any. We'll see. And that's all I have.
Commissioner Lewis?
Well, I was on the 2.5-hour CCAO.
Would you sit on the whole thing?
No, fortunately, they...
I saw your photo go away, so I thought.
Yeah. No, I gave the report on committee priorities and recommendations for justice and public service, public safety. One of the new recommendations that we have deals with having a risk. We are asking the board, CCAO board, to make it their recommendation, and that is a risk-based system to establish bail for defendants. What we're going to do is we want a validated risk assessment tool chosen by the court, and this is so proper bail will be given for defendants with a history of violence against persons or property. Bail reform has been a real subject of concern lately, nationally. And I was at our national legislative meeting last year, or no, actually this year, in March, before the virus hit. And we discussed it then, and one of the things people have done, such as like New York City, they have set bail or not set bail, but not looked at the risks in setting that bail. And therefore, there has been an uptick in crime there, and one of the reasons has been the lack of this assessment tool to find out whether a defendant has a history of violence against persons or property. And so in going along with this, we would like additional state funding, because otherwise it's going to fall on the counties to pay for this. But this is, it's a very, we've researched this and learned a lot nationally on it. And so our committee has recommended it to the full board. So that was our main point that we wanted to bring to the board.
It would seem reasonable that violent crimes, and we've had people around the country for political reasons, I think as much as anything, have gotten out and have killed
Yes,
and robbed
exactly.
and repeated the crime within
Exactly.
days of, and
Exactly.
that to me is unacceptable, and
Right. Right.
I guess enough
That's
said-
why
enough said.
you really can't have true bail reform. They're calling it bail reform, but unless you have this risk assessment tool, it's,
It seems logical that there would be a risk assessment in
I
place
know.
now that would address this as bail is being considered.
right. And some places do have it, and there are different ways that you can do it and, have it assessed, these actual tools. But it's well worth saving lives and,
Well, I'm not sure the old system wasn't working, but it's gotten so darn political,
Very political. So
regardless.
crime went up as
yes, yeah.
in certain areas. Okay.
And that's it.
Okay, just, I think, one or two other things. Went to Third Thursday at the Delaware Chamber meeting on Friday, and the reason I couldn't make the Main Street groundbreaking, again, that's not good.
And it was well attended, it must have been at least 150 people. at the
Oh, really?
Main Street.
Great, it's good to see. That's a great location, that'll be a nice fit for the Main Street. Alex Fisher was the presenter, and he was very complimentary. It was very interesting. He was very complimentary of Delaware County, what we've accomplished, how we're working well together, we're getting a lot done, we have good plans for the future. He was very complimentary and said people really now have a good feeling toward working with Delaware County, whether it's economic development or other things. He said, so, we're doing some good things. And that was really encouraging to hear from him, because I think they have the 75 top CEOs in the region as a member of their partnership. So they're very well represented and good group. Land Bank we talked about. We got I did the Grace Clinic golf outing on Saturday morning. It was about a 45-minute frost delay, but we ended up playing, and it was very well done. The Grace Clinic has really stepped up as this pandemic took over, and more and more people lost health insurance, needed it, needed free care, and they've been providing it. And I really didn't know a whole lot about them, but they're very well organized, and their attendance was up double for this year's outing, so they're getting the word out and getting more funding for their free services, free healthcare services, which is great. Evening of Generosity, the foundation's big event, is virtual, and it'll be pick up a dinner, and then there's going to be some online stuff, auctions, and some entertainment and so on. So anyway, that's Wednesday evening. I think that's it. We do have need for executive session.
Do. Resolution number 20-924, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of employment and compensation of a public employee or public official, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, to consider the sale of property at competitive bidding, and for collective bargaining.
Second?
Discussion, vote?
On motion 20-924, Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye. All right, we are now in executive session.
Resolution number 20-925 in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote?
Vote on motion 20-925. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. No further business? Commissioner Lewis, bang the gavel.